Cool. So thanks to everybody for coming. This is our first, our kickoff of our monthly Ask Me Anything, careers in data-driven sciences. We're specifically focusing on careers in the food, agricultural, natural resources, and human sciences. It's pretty broad. Do you need a huge favor and shut the door? Thanks, that's right. And so I'm super proud to introduce Mariby Cruz as our first September speaker here. Mariby is former Chico alum. You know, she was like biology major, applied stat minor, super also SI leader also, Lisa, yeah. All around awesome person. And so I'm super excited to hear from Mariby where she's at and what she's up to. And so the way we'll structure this is Mariby can kind of, talk about where she's at and what she's doing for 15-ish or so minutes, however long you got. Mariby, would you prefer them to, if people have questions, to ask right away, ask in chat, we can hold until later? What would you like?
So I did kind of answer the questions about the background. I could try and cover those, and if somebody, I guess, has a question about that, go ahead and ask. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so Mariby, tell a little bit about where she's at, and then if this is an Ask Me Anything. So this is your chance as students and looking at future careers. What would you want to know? What did maybe like what did Mariby, what does she know now that she wishes she would have known, right? So this is your chance to get a chance to talk to an early career professional in an awesome field. So the floor is yours, Mariby.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. I am actually honored to be here as a guest speaker. So thank you for thinking about me. And like Robin said, I'm a Chico State alum. I graduated in 2019 with a BS in biology, specifically ecological, evolutionary, and organismal biology. And I got a minor in applied stats. And so I worked very closely with Robin for a while. After I graduated in 2019, I actually got published through the Journal of Sustainable Forestry in January 2020. Came up with the validation for a bootstrapping method. Don't want to go dive in too much into that, but I did want to highlight that. It was a big accomplishment for me. All right, so how did I get to where I am today? So first of all, my love for statistics, trending, started in Costa Rica. I was part of a biology research expedition as a student and as a TA. Working with numbers, just putting it together, visualizing the data, and then it driving to a solution or making a conclusion out of it made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. That's it. I just loved it. After college, I actually started working in retail. Customer service is hard. I think everybody should probably try it out. It builds character. But that wasn't going to be for me. I decided to go on Google and just search up any data jobs or anything in biology. I was ready to get back into the field. And I saw a Google ad for this company called Quidel, where I'm at right now. The position was originally for a lab tech. So what I was going to be doing was testing medical devices. And I said, okay, let's do it. You got to get your foot in the door. And while I was working there, I spent 3 months testing, and every new person I saw come into the lab that I didn't normally work with, I would go and introduce myself and just say hi, always asking what they were there for, what did they do. And people highlighted my enthusiasm for wanting to know more about the product and more about what they did with the data. So when the position for an analyst opened up, I was referred and I applied and I got in. So I think that's important to highlight. Talk to people. So in a nutshell, what do I do and what does that mean for my typical day? So the job description in a nutshell, is to process quality control data at several stages of the product's production. So we make medical devices. I work with the cardiovascular unit. And so if you're having heart pains or chest pains and you go into the ER, they're gonna take some blood and test it on devices, see where your troponin levels are at, any other biomarkers that can indicate that you're having a heart attack. So that's the product I work with right now. What I mean by the different stages of the product's production is I look at data at the components level. So you can think about it as the ingredients. So when you make a cake, right, you want to make sure you use the best sugar, the best flour. So we want to make sure we use the best ingredients, reaction mixes that are going to go into the device. We look at data before the product gets built to make sure that we have the right combinations. So we make sure that we have the right product, the right ingredients, and we also make sure we have the right combinations. And then we also look at data before the product gets released to the consumer. So it's been built, it's cured, and we make sure that it's up to FDA specifications. And if they don't meet specifications, then I come in and I look at the data and investigate why. So how does that translate to what I do every day? So like I said, we're an FDA approved company. So there's systems and procedures in place to ensure the customer safety. So some of these processes and paperwork can get redundant, but that's just because it's procedures. You got to make sure that you touch every point. However, every day is different. Every day is different for me. Like for one, I didn't know I was gonna come and do this, but I made time for it. I'm here, so here's something new. But for example, let me give you this. Some days we might be on back order for a Japan product. So I work on tasks that will make sure we get us off the back order list. Like I investigate lots that may have failed the final release testing event. I look at the process data, and I let the data lead me to a path or a solution to be able to get that product to the customers. So pretty much I answer questions like why did this come out the way it came out? Why does the data look this way? Why did it fail? Could it be that there is a large variability in the lot, or maybe outliers that drove the data out of specification? So I'm constantly problem solving, constantly learning new things. That's just the big nutshell of what I do. I do that. I write reports. I do public speaking. I talk to. Sorry, what was that?
No, you're good.
Okay. But yeah, so in a nutshell, that's what I do. I look at data and I problem solve every day, and I love it. Does anybody have any questions?
What do you think the most influential classes that you took at Chico State were for the work that you do right now?
Ooh, that's a good question. So basic stats, just answering questions using the data, but also classes that had a heavy writing component. I think that as students, we don't appreciate that. I think we have so much going on in our student life that writing a report might seem very daunting or very like boring. But I think it's one of the most crucial things that you definitely need to pay attention to and focus on. If you can communicate effectively in writing and in person, I think you have a really good, strong foot in the door for many opportunities. So I took creative writing classes for fun, and I wish I would have maybe taken a technical writing class in addition to that. Yeah. Thank you, that was a good question.
So looks like we have a question in chat. What are some of the software or tools that you use for data analysis?
Here at work, I use Jump, so it's a SaaS software. I am new to the software, actually. I started statistics with R. I'm sure many of you use R in your stats classes, biology classes. I'm not sure about maybe chemistry, but Jump is a really nice tool to put to make data visualizations. You just kind of have to figure out where all your bells and whistles are. But once you know one language, you can definitely learn a new one. And this one isn't very heavy on the programming. You can if you wanted to, but it's also very user friendly to just kind of like Excel in a way.
It's
Very
point and
interactive.
click based, right?
What was that?
It's point and click based, like menu driven.
Yeah.
Just I thought.
But it's very interactive too. So if you're looking at, let's say, two graphs, two models, and you're interested as to, okay, there's an outlier for a certain metric you're looking at, and you highlight it, it highlights it in the rest of your data table. And it highlights it in the other graphs that you may have graphed already. So you kind of get to see it interact all across instead of trying to look for it manually yourself. So it's really interactive in that way.
Nice.
Yeah. We also use Access. Another new thing for me. I mean, I used Word, I've used Excel, and Access was so new to me. So pretty much Access is you have this big giant database in the back, and you need to pull up information. Instead of doing it manually, you can just use Access to grab that information. So that's also, I think, a good tool to add to yourself, kind of like acquaint yourself with, I would say. But
Let's see. Shaka, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So another question in the chat. These are awesome questions. What are the certifications did you have to be working in the field that you're in?
none. Yeah. None, but anything you had definitely highlighted me. I mean, I had the degree and that was big for them. And I highlighted the fact that I worked in Costa Rica and I published the paper, but they just kind of wanted to know where my problem solving skills were, where my critical thinking skills were. And I actually talked about my experience in retail about problem solving, and they liked that. So they thought I could translate that into this world as well. It was a little bizarre, but it was very different than what you would think. So if there's a job out there and you think you might not qualify, I would still try and apply. You never know.
Mariby, I want to tag in on that because you already mentioned that, you know, you took the base level job and then used your outgoing nature, inquisitive skills there to help you get this job. Do you feel like there's more upward mobility for you in the company that you're in?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of growth in the company. It's one of the reasons I am still here. There's a lot of personal growth. The company just acquired another medical device company, and so there's a lot of opportunity for growth. They're actually hiring.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of growth. And I do plan on adding a certification of Six Sigma, which is like I guess manufacturing tools to help you be more effective in problem solving world, I guess, going for my yellow belt and then eventually the green belt. But yeah, that's something I want to do.
I've seen the Six Sigma booth at a lot of the at every big stat conference too. And yeah, it's my friend who works in engineering is in the same boat. So I think it's like cross-platform project management / problem solving, decision making certification, but yeah, so I've heard Six Sigma a couple times come up before.
Yeah.
Awesome, that's great.
Oh, I
Yeah.
got it here. So it says, so Six Sigma, a set of, okay, I had to look it up, okay? Like, I don't know if I had the book like that. Six Sigma, a set of management techniques intended to improve business processes by reducing the probability that an error or defect will occur. So pretty much that just lays out a plan of how to get things, you know, how to problem solve, bound the problem, figure out solution, and move on.
Nice.
Can I ask one more question? Yeah, to go back kind of to software and tools, you know, there's so many different other data visualization tools, like Tableau is one of the big ones. Which one do you think are important ones to kind of have, or big ones? I know you mentioned you use Jump, and Access is like another big one. Would you recommend any other ones in terms of like order? Which ones would be the most beneficial?
Oh, wow. It's a really good question. I feel like with the whole technology and like the world, like technology world just advancing so fast, it's kind of hard to say what's going to be like the next, like, you know, like the one you should know. I thought it was R.
Yeah.
And I still have yet to meet people who do R. I just know Robin and, you know, her community that do R. I think it's kind of hard to say, but like I said before, like once you know one language, like SQL is, you know, the backbone to Access.
Okay.
I think if you know one that's good, you wouldn't have a hard problem to translate that into any profession you go into. Just, you know, learn your troubleshooting, learn your main questions, and then there's always going to be someone around that can help you figure out how to use the software. So, and you know, there's Google, there's just resources out there to really learn anything. I'm sorry, I can't answer your question about what I think, you know, like.
No worries. Yeah.
But
I appreciate your opinion, because those are usually the big things for me. Like, what are the things that you learned at school that you were, when you went into the workforce, that you could easily apply right away? So I'm always curious to learn what tools people use at work. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your question.
I have a follow-up question to that. You said the statistics is the course that led you to this, to what you're doing right now. Now, if I take you back to school, what kind of courses would you take? What would you recommend to all of those students who are attending here to take to prepare them to a job like yours or similar to yours?
I think I emphasized a little bit about this before. Writing courses is a big one. Communicate effectively, that's a big one. So that's my biggest. So if there's a technical writing course in your school, take it. Even if it's a grant writing course, take it. One day you're going to be in a position where you're going to have to ask somebody for something. So you're going to have to know how to communicate that in the most effective manner. I think that's my biggest highlight. I think we forget about that. We get so technical and in our hard sciences that we forget about the other skills that we need. So if you're already doing all the hard sciences, great, but I would add that to your belt.
Your yellow belt.
Yeah, and then if you have any, like, depending on like what it is you want to do, if you have those certifications available at your school, or find out if there's any certifications available at your school, like the classes, like I know UC San Diego has Six Sigma. I don't know if Chico State had it at the time. I didn't even know this thing existed at the time. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we do, but I know we have a contract with LinkedIn Learning. And so all students, staff, faculty can go to LinkedIn Learning and pick up their classes and their certificates and stuff as well.
Yeah, so I would look into that. There's also like the Google certificates. I was doing, Robin, what was that our bootcamp thing that we were doing online? And you would earn your certificates as you did the modules.
Oh, that was through Data Camp, I think.
Yeah, so I did those. That was available for me at the time, and it was free. So I went ahead, did them, and put them on LinkedIn.
Yeah, anything that gives you a little certificate of completion, like I know this topic.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent question. So I'm gonna move to another one in our chat from Daniel. It says, can you share, it's very interested, they're very interested in what your day involves. Can you share some insight into something you are currently working on? So I think you kind of already covered this a little bit.
Yeah, so let's see, what can I say? You sign NDAs with biotech companies, by the way, so
Right.
you have to be kind of careful with what you say. Let's see. I can tell you a little project of what I did, I guess, this morning. 2 investigations, actually. So one of them, you put the devices into these meters and they have to give you a result within a certain time period. If they don't reach this result within a certain time period, they can error code. So you get no readings on it. And that could be an issue if you're in the field and you're trying to figure out if this person has high troponin levels. So you get an error code, you just wasted kind of 20 minutes of your life and this person's safety as well. So I was investigating why that result or that time to result was higher than it's supposed to be, that specification, before I moved that lot into the next stage. And so in the end, after putting additional testing, so you do, you sample from the lot that you build, you look at the data and you pretty much say like, look, this is what we need to do, whether it's remove devices from your lots or give it a new setting for the meter. So it's like one thing I did this morning. And then the other thing I did was looked at data that on one of our new products that's, I guess, pretty popular out in the world right now. It's called high sensitivity troponin. It failed for a certain metric and looked at the data, not by myself. This one was actually with the team. This product is pretty intense and pretty much looked at the fact that it wasn't sampled across the lot randomly. So we have to look into it further and see maybe it was just maybe not real, not a real failure. So we handle things like that.
Thank you very much. That's very insightful. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
These are excellent, excellent questions.
Yeah, I love it. I was a little afraid people were going to be afraid to ask. Sometimes when people, they put you on the spot, like, ask me something, I don't know what to ask you. So, yeah. So I feel great. You guys are a great group of people.
Okay, so next question. So you said you came into Cadell as a lab tech, basically, right? And then you went up into the analyst position. Was there a programming or software evaluation as part of that hiring process? Like, did you have to go through like a code trial test?
Oh, I think I understand what you're asking. And no, I didn't. Actually, the hiring manager said that she wasn't really like too hard on the fact that if you didn't know statistics or if you did. If you did, she said it was a plus. The reason she said this was because she didn't have a stats background and she learned everything on the job. But when I did get out of college and I was applying to jobs, I did have to go do that through some like hiring processes, I guess, before you actually got to interview. I never made it to the interview. I guess I didn't answer fast enough, but that's okay. I mean, like, they expected you to solve these like polynomials in like 3 seconds or something, and I'm not Bill Gates or anybody else genius, so that wasn't feasible for me. And they also did things like personality quizzes or tests, so you had to answer these weird questions online about it was kind of like, would you rather, which would you rather type of questions. And it was very awkward because of these scenarios were all bad and I didn't want to choose any, and you had to say, well, I would choose this one in this order over this one. Very awkward questioning, but I think I know, like they try to weed out like different personalities or trying to look for a certain personality, so they use these softwares, I guess AI, right? But this job specifically didn't do that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
They're excellent questions. Any more? I think I caught all the ones in the chat.
I actually have one more, if that's okay.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
So, I
You
think
said
it's
a lot of great things.
yeah.
Lots of
That's
positive.
actually,
but-
that's really good. Yeah, I think I've evolved and I've had different challenges within this past year being an analyst. One of the first things was my time management, or just like not having somebody delegate tasks to me. I know that doesn't sound very like you know, like data or anything like that, but it's a real thing. I worked jobs where I always had a supervisor who said, you got to do task da 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 before you leave. And you got to take your lunch at a certain time. I think for me, it was weird that I didn't have someone telling me, you got to get these tasks done. And then also you got to go to lunch on this time. I decided that for myself based on business priorities. So if at our morning meeting, they said, you know, these are the things we need to get moving to reach this goal, you know, I would prioritize what I felt would get us there. So I think that was one of the challenging parts at first, getting comfortable with that much flexibility. There's just much power in it. You can, you know, you got to be careful, take it slow, ask questions. I think right now for me, one of my challenges is understanding more of the actual device. I didn't study this. I studied things in the forest. I studied animals. I studied you know, things that were very tangible for me. And that's what I thought I was gonna end up doing. And so now I'm working with devices that are this big.
Yeah.
You know? And you put blood in there and I can't see the chemistries inside. So I think that's where my next struggle is, kind of understanding more about the actual product. Right now, I just let the data tell them what to do.
Thank you so much. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Awesome. So Ashley had a great question. So I guess it'd be two parts. One, do you experience imposter syndrome? And if two, how do you deal? If yes, how do you deal with that at your job?
Oh yeah. I think I forgot to tell you all. I'm from Inglewood, so I'm from South Central LA, and I'm a first generation Latina. So imposter syndrome is big. Had it since college. Didn't even know that was a thing at that time until someone told me like that's a thing. So yeah, I still go through it till this very day. One of my good scenarios would be me trying to ask for a raise. I knew in myself that I deserved the raise for yada yada reasons, right? Doing what the process analyst 2 is doing, therefore I should be getting that pay, maybe even also the title. But I also had this voice telling me, no, don't start things. Don't start stepping on people's toes. Just, you're comfortable. You're still getting a decent pay, so just stay where you're at. And I heard that from my grandma. She told me, no, don't be so, what was it? The translation would be like money greed, I guess. Don't be like money hungry. And I'm like, you know what, grandma? This is why our people stay in the same place we're at. You know, this is why people, you know, walk all over us, why we don't move together as a community. It's because we keep telling each other these things, and then, you know, maybe you told me these things when I was younger and they stayed in my head. I confided in a coworker who also grew up in not such a privileged family, and she also has battled those same feelings, interactions, and she helped me kind of like figure out how to ask for a raise. She said, "Don't be afraid, just do it. The worst thing they can say is no." And really, that is the worst thing they can say is no. And maybe it's not even the worst thing, but it opens up, you know, opportunities, or maybe like, you know, they didn't know you wanted a raise, so now they're aware of it. So you kind of have to just push that voice aside. I'm sorry, like it is what it is. It's gonna be there, and it's probably gonna be there forever. You just have to fight against it. Like, when it sounds cliche when they say you fight against yourself, right? Like that's your worst enemy or whatever. But you really have to push that person to the side. Like, that's no longer you. You've accomplished all these things, and if the way you feel about yourself is true, you wouldn't be way over here. So I say look at your past accomplishments. I say look at all the growth you've done, and acknowledge yourself for that. And I think that's like one of the biggest things, acknowledging yourself for all the hard work you've put in. So.
And having a cheer squad that helps you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
sorry, let me highlight that too. Cheer squad, yeah.
Good. And you know, usually y'all can find that in your prior teachers. Is we are some of your best, maybe not best, because families probably in there too, but we are your cheer squads.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you definitely need those people around you. Surround yourself with those people.
Oh, I remember when you texted me, you're like, I got this job.
Yeah. Well, because when I told my family, they was like, "Oh, okay, you got a job." You know,
Yeah.
It's kind of like out of their scope, like to understand what I did, and I didn't want it to kind of sound like I'm rubbing it in their face. So who do I share this experience with that I know is gonna have that same level of enthusiasm as I am? I didn't want somebody to kind of like burn out my flame, so I went and told you.
Yep. And I celebrated a lot right along with you. Absolutely. You're excellent. Anything else? I got some seed questions over here that if no one's got questions.
I have another. Mariby, what kind of statistical analyses do you think you perform most often? Regression, or what sort of statistical analyses do you do?
I do a lot of run charts, so looking at like time sequence data. That's like the biggest one I look at. I do use regression analysis here and there. One of the ones I've been using is the goodness of fit test. I never thought I'd actually use it, but I did. So that's a big one. Different distributions, which one fits it best, and what is this population metric telling you? Is like, how is it really going to perform out in the field? So the things we used in lab do get used in the real world. Maybe not doing it manually, but you know, there's software for that. But yeah, the same concept of like interpreting is there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Piggybacking on that, and it may be the same type of question. Ashley is interested in what is the most complicated type of analysis that you do.
Let's see. I'm trying to think, what is the most complicated one I do?
The one that maybe it's easy, but it takes a long time, or one that where you're like, don't bother me, I need to be in the zone to figure this out.
Yeah. It's just the thing is these there's procedures already put in place, so it's kind of hard to say like, oh, this is very complicated. Like there's already procedures to follow, so you have that to lean on. I don't think I've really struggled to the point where like I don't understand what's going on. I think the one I've ran into trouble with the most is goodness of fit, just because you're trying to figure out if so we look at donors, we donate blood, and you're trying to figure out if this actually represents, like, are they part of the data? Are they really part of the distribution? Is this outlier real or not? And do we need to replace a donor? I think when you make decisions like that, I think that for me has been the difficult part. Like, okay, so it passes, but the distribution looks worrisome. So like, I'm going to retest again. I've come across that where it passes the specification, but I feel like the distribution doesn't look great. It just somehow the numbers, worked out. I think that one's the one I've had the most issues with, and the one I've had to seek out help in the past. So yeah, so sometimes like I think the part when you taught us the hypothesis testing, and if there was certain criteria met to do the analysis was always the hard part for me. What step was that, like step 2, something like that?
I don't remember. No, I know what you're talking about. Just checking assumptions. Is this even the most appropriate? Yes.
Yeah, and I think that has been the hardest part for me till this very day still. Like back then it was book problems, but now it's real problems. So now it's like, whoa. So that's been the hardest part of analysis for me.
So like actual great question. So something you said reminded me, so my background is in biostatistics, which is really closely related, or there's a lot of biostatisticians that work in pharmaceuticals, drug companies, stuff like that, and similar, or medical devices. And so there is strict SOPs, and it's not a statement of purpose. It's a something operation procedure.
Yeah, like standard operating procedures, right?
Standard, thank you. And so there's like higher level, like the PhD statisticians and biostatisticians write this report, write these procedures. You run this test with these options, with it's like laid out instructions, and then the process analyst, research scientist does the actual analysis, and then usually brings that back to the higher, like that's kind of a pharma example. But what you're talking about is it reminded me that at your level, you don't have to come up with the brand new stats to analyze what it is. Like somebody else, that's their job. Right. Nice.
Yeah. You got it right there. Yeah.
So looking at time, let's see, but unless there's anybody else, please feel free to forgive me. No. If you are comfortable with this, which is completely fine, could you share your ballpark compensation? What's your salary? What should people expect in your area?
A very decent, comfortable pay for sure.
And
yeah, and very good work-life balance. So when I applied, I did what anybody else does, go on Google, search up like, what's the salary range, what's the median salary, not the average, but the median. And at the time, so this was October of last year, the range was about 60K to 75K. And again, depending on your experience and depending on the amount of years you've done it for, or the location, that was the word. So experience and location. So depending on that will change the numbers in the range. I actually went on this morning to see what the range is for now, since it's been a whole year. And it increased to about like 70K to 85K here in the area.
That's
So,
entry level.
yeah, I would say like entry level, it depends on the company. So,
Of course.
yeah, it definitely depends on the company, but I think that range was kind of just, it pulled everybody. So it wasn't just for beginning. I think it was just like anybody. So it was just a big pool of people. So it was kind of like a wider range. But yeah, so I'm in a comfortable range.
Nice.
Yeah,
And you're in San Diego, which is beautiful.
I love it. I love it out here. The weather's great right now.
When it's not hurricaning, right?
Has it been hurricane? No.
A couple weeks ago. Oh, maybe that was that. Maybe that's
Oh.
went up to San Bernardino. Okay.
No,
you-
there was a hurricane in Baja California, so we did get some of that rain. Yeah. But it's
Cool.
beautiful. I love it here.
Yeah, let's see. Any other, what else does people be interested in?
So Marby, you just said that you have a good work-life balance. Do you feel like that is your department only, universal across your company? Is it something that's encouraged? Is it something that's talked about?
That's a good question. I think overall, most of the people I work with are happy. Yeah, and sometimes I'm like looking for a signature, and then I find out, oh, they went on vacation for 2 weeks. Okay, and even like it definitely does it does differ across different positions. As a lab tech, I was still have to ask for vacation in advance. But it was never a no. It was always like, okay, we'll work with you. Here in my position now, it's a lot easier. Like I can just be like, hey, I'm taking a mental health day. Like that's a thing now. And I feel like in other jobs that never was a thing. I had to be almost dying and to get a sick day. But yeah, I work with happy people. When you work with happy people, you're happy too. And happy people gravitate towards happy people. Yeah, and productivity is better with happy people. Yeah.
I feel like you should be like a company-wide life coach or something like that.
Our CEO actually came and talked about happiness. I thought he was going to talk about our goals for the company and this and that, and he talked about happiness.
Oh, well, that would be a very positive sign for me.
Yeah. So
yeah, cool. Thank you.
Get them out to our department.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Well, I thank you again so very much, Marby, for coming. And on so I will post the recording and some of the answers to the well, not the answers to the chat. I will post a recording on our project website. And is there and we can talk later on if you want to have maybe a contact email if people want to follow up with questions later. Yeah.
My LinkedIn is fine too. I was actually just working on updating LinkedIn. I had left it to collect dust for a while. But my LinkedIn is always a great place to contact me.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I did have some words, last words of advice. I wasn't sure. I think that's one of the seed questions you could probably add. So I got three bullet points. So one, get out of your comfort zone. It'll get you noticed. Don't expect things to just flow your way. If they are, that means you're already working hard. So it seems like luck, or you just got it like that, but many of us don't, okay? Two, know when you need to rest and take care of yourself. That's a big thing, okay? Don't burn yourself out. And then lastly, if you are constantly building new skills, If you're learning from your mistakes and you're working on yourself, you are succeeding. Don't feel stuck because you haven't gotten to point B or whatever point you're trying to get to. Don't let that be, your ultimate success or the reason why you're gonna say, oh, then I'll be succeeding. You're already succeeding by being here. You showed up today, you made time to come here and learn something, take something away with you, and you're succeeding, so keep going. Okay.
Where is it? There you go. I agree with Lisa. You would make an excellent life coach. Awesome. Well, thank you again so very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And call me anytime you need to celebrate.
Yeah, thank you everyone again. I was really happy to be here.
Bye, everyone. Stay tuned. Next month, new speaker.
Thank you.